On this edition of A-10 Hoops Talk, we're going to celebrate the way in which women's college basketball in the Atlantic 10 has helped shape successful careers beyond college. A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint, starting right now. Welcome to A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by former St. Joseph's head men's basketball coach Phil Martelli. And today we are going to talk about success beyond the court with women's basketball in the Atlantic 10. And we've had some great success stories, Phil, over the years. And this could be one of our greatest success stories. 35-plus year career as a player, as a coach, as an executive. Won a gold medal as the head coach this past Olympics. Cheryl Reeves joins us now. Cheryl, thank you for joining us. I got to say, I don't know if anybody's had a better year than you have this last year. What has this been like this last year?
Oh, man. As you'd expect, very much a whirlwind. But as Coach knows, when you're in these sorts of things, you're in the grind and you're just so locked in and focused on the task at hand. And so for me, that kind of, I say it varied by which quarter zip I was wearing. If I was wearing the Minnesota Lynx quarter zip, I was all in, loving the one I was with. And then when I had to take that off and put the USA basketball quarter zip on, same thing, just love the one you're with. And that's the only way I know how to do it. Compartmentalization is an art form. I think coaches do that well. And that's what this year was.
Cheryl, you cut your teeth as an assistant at GW and you had dreams. How have the experiences that you had playing at LaSalle and assistant at GW, how have those dreams exceeded, or let me flip that, the reality has exceeded the dream?
Yeah, I mean, those days, they're so vivid to me. Being at LaSalle and the great opportunity I had to be coached by Hall of Famer Speedy Morris and equally as talented John Miller. You don't know at the time when you're walking the halls of Heyman Hall that, what's next. You're just trying to be a hooper and that sort of thing. And but the ways in which those two helped shape me, there were things that were said to me that, stay with me and that I think about often. And just mentoring me, and then having a chance. Joe McEwen, another Philly guy, was a George Washington coach, and so getting that opportunity to be at GW, those 5 years were incredible. Taking a team that had not been successful and reaching as high as 6th in the nation, and just incredible. Those Atlantic 10 battles. When Teresa Grentz was at Rutgers and Renee Portland was at Penn State, and just incredible time, great athletes, and it just helped shape me, for who I am as a coach now.
And Cheryl, you've been part of this this growth of women's basketball. What has it been like to be part of helping to plant the seed and then nourishing the flower as it's gotten so big over the years?
I am just thankful that I'm still coaching to get to experience, the long journey that it has been to move women's sports into the space that it finally is now, and that we always knew it could be. We just, it's pretty layered. I don't want to get too far into it, but it's pretty layered. I can only tell you I'm super proud to have been a part. I was a Title IX baby, so I was, 6 years old when Title IX came into existence, and to just see how far, from 72 until now, we're still fighting some of the same battles, but we're just entering a different space where the business of women's sports is booming. And we always knew it could be this, and I'm thrilled, to have been on the journey and to see it where it is now.
Cheryl, as you look at the Atlantic 10 specifically, the coaching, the administration, how do you see it basically outside looking in? How do you see them lifting the next Cheryl Reeves? She's in this league.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that that work, you never know, I think, the impact of the mentorship that young coaches experience, either watching another A-10 coach or a legend, or where they are, the way that they're empowered. That's what happened for me. Is I just had great mentorship and people that allowed me to be myself, which I think is so important, and then just showed me the way of kind of the not that you take necessarily every part of the coaching. You have to have your own identity, but I think that's what it was. It was just that space of giving you the confidence to be yourself, and I took on big responsibilities for Joe at GW, and I think that same thing, like you said, that's what I'm watching, that's what I'm seeing. Those same things are happening in the A-10 now.
Well, Cheryl, we appreciate your time, and we appreciate all of the things that you've done for women's basketball over the years, and thank you very much. Congratulations on another Coach of the Year for the Lynx this past year, and I can't imagine what's ahead for you moving forward, but thank you very much.
Well, I thank both of you. It was great to be on.
When we come back, we'll talk to a couple more outstanding women as A-10 Hoops Talk continues. Welcome back to A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint. We are joined now by Amber Nichols out of the University of Richmond, who is now with the Washington Wizards as the Director of Amateur Evaluation. Amber, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. We love putting the spotlight on women's basketball. And I read an article from back in 2022 where the article talked about you one day possibly running an NBA franchise. When you hear talk like that, how much pride do you have, not only in women's basketball, but the fact that you may be able to take it to the next level in the NBA?
Yeah, I have an immense pride when I hear things like that, but I also try to remain extremely humble throughout my process. I've had a lot of people, a lot of mentors along the way that have helped me get here. And if I am fortunate enough to be able to sit in that situation or position one day, then I'll definitely be grateful. And I've definitely learned a lot along the way. So I'm grateful for my journey and excited to see where it continues to lead.
The A-10 player of today and the future A-10 players who will be tuning into this, can you provide them a message?
Yeah, I would say, don't take for granted the opportunity that you have right now in front of you at your respective institutions. The A-10 was great for me. Richmond was great for me. Not only did I get a chance to play competitive basketball, but I also got exposed to just all sports at a really high level and get an understanding for how the business worked. And by process of elimination, it helped me realize, what I really wanted to do when I was done playing. And so I'm grateful for the A-10 for providing me that opportunity, as well as the University of Richmond, to be able to do both.
Memories and relationships from the Atlantic 10, from your Richmond teams, from the competitions. How did those memories and relationships propel you through every single day and every single challenge that you face?
Yeah, well, it propels me by letting me know that I can't do this all on my own. Basketball is a team sport, and that remains true on the business and basketball side, operation side as well. And, I learned that lesson very early at Richmond. We had a close-knit group. My teammates I still stay in touch, with them to this day. And, they poured into me on days when it got hard. And I did the same for them on days when it got hard too. And, it also taught me just the resilience that you need to have, being a student athlete and balancing academics with, trying to perform in your respective sports is, a tough balance to navigate. But I will say that having the support of my teammates and my advisors, my teachers, my educators, my coaching staff, all of those things, really poured into me to allow me to navigate those 4 years at Richmond. And, I definitely learned a lot from my time there. And to be able to do, what I love every day as a career is a blessing that I don't take for granted. And I'm grateful to, Ted Leonsis, Michael Winger, Will Dawkins for putting me in the situation to continue to grow with the Washington Wizards organization.
Well, Amber, we appreciate it, and we appreciate all that you've done to promote A-10 basketball, not only with what you do with the Wizards, but also what you did even before in the WNBA. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Our next guest is Debbie Richardson. She has had a long career as a coach and administrator on the campus level, and for 15 years was an associate commissioner at the Atlantic 10 Conference office. Debbie, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. I guess the first thing I want to ask you, and we've asked a lot of our guests, what has the game of basketball meant to you in your career as an administrator and also on campus?
That is a very loaded question in the sense of I could spend a lot of days just talking about that one topic. But at the end of the day, I really do believe in the concept of the student athlete. And from my playing days on, the student part, you're a student of the game. You were a student while you were a teammate. You know, you learn different roles. You learn to be the starter. You learn to be the first sub off the bench. You learn to be the maybe not play. And those challenges, but you learn the value of each one and then how they played along in your administrative career, your coaching career and your administrative career as well. I can't possibly even fathom my life without having this experience.
Debbie, what does a successful experience look like for an A-10 women's basketball player?
I think that there are a lot of different aspects to it, and each situation is going to be different, but certainly the educational piece, you know, while you're on campus, it's not only the education in the classroom, but it's the education of the campus experience itself, the value of it, the clubs, your dorm mates, the folks that you get to know. And then I also think that you have just the value of competition. And sometimes we look so much at winning and losing that we forget the lessons that we learn from both of those, the lessons from winning and the lessons from maybe not being as successful in the game and coming up maybe one short shy of that win.
Debbie, you had such an impact when you were an administrator with the Atlantic 10. The conference became one of eight conferences around the country to have a neutral site place host the A-10 Women's Championship. What was that like for the conference to do something like that?
It was really exciting and it was challenging. And we were very fortunate that we had leaders on our campuses that had great vision, because every single campus had to buy into this and make a commitment to that. And we were also fortunate to have the leadership of Bernadette McGlade. I believe that was a very significant stepping stone in the growth of A-10 women's basketball.
What's next for A-10 women's basketball?
You know, that is, to me, very exciting because you look at the quality of play in the league and you look at the competition, you look at the commitment. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. I can remember one year in particular that going into the conference championship, we actually had 13 ties to break.
Wow.
And now, granted, does that happen every year? No, but it happens often enough. You're always going to have some ties, and you just never know when that game's going to come. And to me, it just accumulates with that championship and the excitement that you have, you know, to go with it. And, you know, obviously, you know, we have several teams right now that are being considered for at-large bids, but February can be either the shortest month of the year or it can be the longest month of the year. It just depends on how you look at it.
Well, Debbie, we appreciate you joining us, and we also appreciate everything that you've done to make the Atlantic 10 such a great conference for women's basketball.
Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
All right.
Thank you.
Debbie Richardson, our guest. When we come back, we'll have more success stories with women's basketball in the Atlantic 10. So stay with us. Welcome back to A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint. So Vanessa Blair-Lewis has been coaching for 25 years, Phil. in women's college basketball. And now she is the head coach of George Mason, coming off a season last year where they won 23 games. Each and every year, her teams have gotten better with her win total, and she joins us now. Vanessa, thanks for joining us. Let's start there. What is it like to build a program? Because I know you've done it at a couple of different places now. What is it like to build a program like George Mason?
Oh boy, it's exciting. It's exhausting. But, I think for us, it's always been about the vision and helping young women see that they can go from where they are to the sights just being unlimited of where they can go. But we have a great staff. I mean, I think you guys know as coaches, like that's really, really important. And our staff has been together probably as long as I've been coaching in one term or another. But this staff has really enjoyed the presence of each other daily. And so for that, we're able to continue to consistently build into our players. And we know almost can finish each other's thoughts. So every build has been unique. This one has been exciting for reasons more than just being able to get up and coach every day. It's because I'm back home. Maryland is my home, and George Mason obviously is right across the bridge. And so this was a fantastic opportunity when the call came.
The seriousness of this obligation you take right to heart. But in an effort to make your players better on and off the floor, how challenging do you find that? And how rewarding do you find that?
I think the reward is worth the challenge. We and our staff and our program, we say every day to remind ourselves that we get to do this. Like we get to do this. We get to inspire young women. We get to pour into them. We get to correct. We get to discipline. We get to watch them graduate. We get to watch them fail. We get to watch them succeed. So the challenge is so far more than just any of the reward. Like we just enjoy what we do. And our players understand that they get to do this because, as you know, as an athlete, any small injury, anything can sideline you. Grades, academics, though, you don't get to say, oh, I just get to do this for 4 years. No, you get to do this every day, one day at a time. And that's how we take building a program every day, one day at a time. And we wake up with the gratitude that we get to do this.
What a great message. Vanessa, what's the competitive nature of the Atlantic 10 like for George Mason and for all the teams that are involved?
Wow. It is absolutely incredible. I've been in two different conferences, and I'll tell you this, if you would have said to me in either one of those conferences that you had 4 losses and that put you in 4th place last year, we were 14-4 last year. Yeah, there was tied up and breaks. You had to break these tiebreakers here and there, but it put you in 4th place. It is absolutely every single night. You cannot go into any game and think that, we're just going to check this off the list. Absolutely not.
As a former player, how did that prepare you to be a coach in the Atlantic 10 or in college basketball? And the growth of women's basketball has been so amazing.
I just think as a player, I could not wait for game day. I like practicing. I ain't gonna say I loved it. I like practicing, but I loved competing. And I always said, whenever the butterflies leave my stomach as a player and now as a coach is when I think I'll get out. But every single game, the night before, my husband is like, lay down, go to sleep, stop watching film. You got to play the game, just relax. And it's that way every single moment up until tip-off, just the same way it was as a player. And it's even more so in the A-10. Why? Like I said, watching and helping to grow a program that had 0 wins before we came 3 years ago. To see these girls compete and believe, it's just so exciting to watch them reap the rewards of the success that they're having.
You're a member of a team at George Mason, the athletic department. What have you learned from your other coaches, and how have those lessons made you a better coach?
I just think for us, we have room for everything but excuses. And no matter what it takes, no matter what handicapped, no matter if it's snowing that day, or maybe you don't have enough for this or that. We make everything but excuses. We find a way to get it done. The coaches here are all close, from track to volleyball. You watch them succeed and you watch them fail in their different, areas of expertise. You get a chance to sit down and have lunch and break bread with them, and you find ways to connect with your players because you're learning something from another young aspiring coach. We're trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to obviously win, but for us, we're trying to win in the lives of these young women for the future. And we always say we don't recruit for the next 4 years. I mean, in this landscape, it might be just the next 6 months, right? But we recruit for the rest of their lives. And so I want to be at your wedding, and I want to be at that time when it may be a time that you have to bury a loved one. I want to be there for those calls when you are about to bring life into this world. So for us, it's about recruiting for the next 4 years. And I think that is what you'll find at George Mason and the coaches here, that it's just not what have you done for me lately. It's what can we do to make society better by you coming this way.
Well, Vanessa, great message, and we really appreciate you joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Vanessa Blair-Lewis, our guest. We'll take a break and be back with more A-10 Hoops Talk. Welcome back to A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint. It's now time for our overtime segment with Phil Martelli on Phil, what has been a very powerful show.
No question about that, Tom. Several years ago, the NCAA ran a PR campaign with the message from student athletes that we are all turning pro in something. Seeing is believing. And after today's show, each of you has seen that message up close and personal. A-10 women's basketball changed and will continue to change the life paths for so many superstars. The experience provided on and off the court will allow the young women like those you have met today to better other people's lives. It's been tremendous to celebrate social activists, commissioners, Olympic coaches, G League general managers. But truth be told, we could do multiple shows featuring CEOs, moms, doctors, teachers, community influencers, all of whom cut their teeth in the A-10. The primary message that each of them would pass along would be, simply put, use the game, use the opportunity to make the world a better place. A-10 Hoops, changing lives.
There's no doubt that that is an opportunity that all of us should take advantage of. For Phil Martelli, I'm Tom McCarthy. Until next time, thank you for watching A-10 Hoops Talk.